Hello, everybody. I'm Howie. Thanks for hanging out with me. Before I introduce my illustrious cast that I have here, as always, our longtime sponsor, DJEventPlanner.com. Give them a shout out. They can help you out. And it'll be in the description down below when this gets published to YouTube. And, check out our other sponsors as well. So, okay, I'm just going to go right to left. We have with us Brian. Thank you for being here, sir. We have Kevin from the Buckeye State. We have New Hampshire Eric. We have Chicago Buddy with us. And, of course, we have Boston John.
Right.
And all the way from the West Coast, coming in is Mr. Jay Brennan.
What's up, everybody?
All right. Hey, I got a suggestion for a topic, and I'm going to widen it a little bit. The question was, how important is the bartender at your gig? Well, we all know we've been through this numerous times. We don't drink on the job. So I'm going to flip it to the event staff, which would include the bartenders and servers and so forth, and captains. And so, Eric, it's your topic. So why don't you lead us off?
I'm just going to start with the bartender at anybody's gig, whether it be a nightclub or a wedding. I think they're very important, as important as the event planner at this event. Because it's either, if they, there's several things. They're either too slow, they pour too much. You know what I mean? It could start something at this event. And we've all had this event where, the term alcoholic muscles come in.
Beer muscles.
If they drink too much, there's going to be a problem. So if they're pouring too much or if they're too slow, it's going to cause tension with the guest. And this is why I thought it might be an interesting topic. I mean, how important is the bartender? And I don't think we've ever really talked about the bartenders in this room. Like, I think they do come into play when you're at a gig, depending on their attitude or the way they're performing. So you could take it to the next person and maybe they can give us some ideas of what they think about this.
Sounds good. I know Brian has talked about this a few times where, and I have been just naturally doing the same thing is I always introduce myself to the bartender and the rest of the staff, but I'm always very early and it's like, hey, my name is Howie. He gives me his name and I go, hey, is there anything you'd like to hear? I'm set up an hour early, give him something basically. And, they're going to be on your side, it's just, and then the other important thing, and I'll let Brian take it from there, is explain what rotating the crowd means.
Well, if you're in a situation where you're DJing a wedding reception, this is unimportant. I don't think you need to worry about it too much for this particular purpose. You still want to rotate an audience. You get your people out who want the new music and your people out with the old music. I was doing an event Saturday where I had people in their 70s and 80s, and I had their kids there too who were my age and little kids there. So there was a little bit of everything for everybody. So there was a rotation. The old people, and forgive me for those of you who are up there, I couldn't keep them out there for too long, like 2-3 songs that they liked, and then I had to knock it off and send them away to bring some young folks out. And then once our seniors or our whatever you want, what's the PC term? I don't know. The old people, once they were rested up, you can bring them back out. I mean, that's fine. But if you're working in a situation, it's a nightclub or a bar or something like that, Eric does that weekly. A lot of us do that kind of stuff here and there. You can make a really good friend at the bar if you rotate the floor right And what you're doing is you're bringing people out to dance. And then eventually, once they're good and thirsty, you're changing it up, changing the music, changing the format, changing the whole thing, sending them to the bar, and then hopefully playing something that the people at the bar like. They leave the bar, they leave their drinks there, bartender clears their drinks, new crowd comes in, starts drinking. You just do this rotation all night with the bar. And then, maybe after you've worked there a couple times, I like to just act like I'm casually asking them, hey, I was just curious, do you make more money when I work? Yeah, we do. It's like, just wanted to know.
Yeah, that's true.
That goes into their heads, and hopefully it goes into management's heads or whatever. And hey, we make a lot more money when this DJ works. These other DJs, we don't make a lot of money, but this guy, we make more money. It's because of the bar rotation. They don't even know what I'm doing. They don't know how I'm doing it. It's not occurring to them that I'm doing this, but I am indeed doing it, and they are busy because of it. So that's in that regard, when you're working a bar or a club or even a restaurant kind of thing or a lounge, you can increase the bartender's revenue, tip money, the place's cash, and ultimately that should make you more valuable as a DJ. Not only for scheduling, but for my spiel on that.
Yeah. All right. Who wants to go next here? How about you, buddy? Oh, go ahead, John. Go ahead.
I'll say a couple of words because it kind of ties into what Brian says too.
Been around the block a few times, yeah.
Yeah, if you're always working the same venue and you see the same bartenders, you do develop a relationship with them, and you're working like Brian said, of course, to change it up so the bar doesn't get too crowded. But the bartender is an ally. I mean, this is someone who's really on your side, and if you do everything properly, they're going to they'll vouch for you for management. If you're a better DJ or a better fit than some of the other people that have come through this place, even at weddings, I try to make it a point to at least meet the wait staff, who's the hall coordinator, who's the bartender, and I talk to them and I ask them questions. I say, what's your last call procedure? Like, do we make a big announcement, or you just fade away quietly? Are you going to, roll down a door? Just have some dialogue to kind of get a feel for what they expect, because they've, like we as DJs have, played hundreds of events. They've bartended through hundreds of events, and they've heard some really great DJs who work with them, and others that maybe don't turn it down when they want it to be a little quieter. The biggest, concern of bartenders generally is, I don't want you to play too loud. I need to be able to hear the drink orders, especially if you're set up near them. They don't want to get blown away all night.
Exactly.
I'm going to play at a reasonable level. The dance floor is going to be hot. You'll be able to have a conversation with someone 2 feet in front of you, and you won't have to read their lips or be screaming at one another. And that's, what in the long term is going to bring you back to that facility. If they're like, I really liked it when this kid was here, and it was a different vibe. It was different than what I've seen so many others. So as I say, you can make a pretty good impression, because that's someone who's going to be attending your wedding by default. They don't want to be there. That's their job.
Yeah,
so they can really make you or break you. That's what I get on that.
Yeah, and that's wise advice. And one thing I did all the time when I was working the bar circuit was that I would mention them by name. Hey, make sure you take care of Ted at the bar. They feel like $1 million. You remembered their name, you called them out, and I said, make sure to take care of them. And if I know some of the wait staff names, I would do that as well, and say, because it's last call.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. All right. Who wants to go up next here? Go ahead, buddy.
I'll take a crack at this.
Sure.
The thing is that if you look at anything, you go into a facility, you're a guest there, and it's their facility. They're used to it. And you have questions. You need to have references. You need to have that relationship with the bartenders, the servers, the facility manager, with anyone there. Because in case you need something, you're not sure and stuff, you can ask them. Wi-Fi password, or if it's, hey, can I get a glass of water? Something simple like that. And you build a rapport with them throughout the night. And it's a partnership with them because they're just as much important part of the team as you are. Yeah, you're doing music. Yeah, you're doing announcements, but them also supporting you by, hey, you need a drink of water. Hey, you need a Coke. You need something. I could bring it over by you. Or, hey, you know what? We got extra food in the back. You want an extra plate of whatever. That
Yeah.
stuff like that is nice to have and have that relationship. Plus, at the end of the night, you can go back and ask, hey, what do you guys think? What do you guys think of everything I did tonight? You guys happy? And if they're sitting there singing your praises, that's going to go up the chain to the owners, to the big bosses. I'm like, hey, yeah, DJ so-and-so is great. I love working with Jay Brandon. Jay Brandon, he's the best DJ. He's really cool, and he's a fun guy to be with. You got to get him here more often. We need more DJs like that. So they have the Jay Brandons, they have the Brian S. Reds, they have the Erics, they have the Johns, they have the Buddies, they have the DJs who know what they're doing, and that builds a reputation to them and a rapport with them that's very, very important. That goes down the road because I've run into places that I haven't been to in a minute. And they're like, oh, yeah, I remember you and your wife. Yeah, you guys are really, really nice. And I like that impression upon people because when I go back there, they're like, yeah, these are the DJs we don't have to worry about.
Yes, exactly. If they
Nice.
can, well, I know John can vouch for this. Like when we work with Eric on those big events at Lake Placid for the Olympics and stuff, he didn't have to babysit us. He already knew our pedigree, and it's like, here's your job, and we hardly saw him until everything was done, which is kind of cool to have that kind of reputation. Hey, what say you, Kevin?
Well, I'm going to repeat a lot of what they said. I did have a little bit of experience that I worked at a bar. And so I'd always get set up early and I'd ask the bartenders, like, hey, you want to hear any songs before I technically get started?
Yeah.
They go, yeah, no, yeah, maybe, I don't know. So they, I'd sort of bounce off them. And I was their regular Saturday night DJ there for a couple of years. And I was supposed to go 8 to 12. And if it was a good night, I felt like I didn't have anywhere to go. I had a tip jar. So it's like, hey, you mind if I stay extra? The party's just now, the kids are getting in here. It's just now hopping. And they go, really? You'll stay? I was like, sure. If they give me some tips, I got gas money to get home. So They were tickled pink. I'd stay sometimes till close. Now, in the wedding vein, I have run across lots of events where I don't have bartenders because mine are more like, we're going to rent a place. We're going to get a big kettle or a cattle trough. We're going to fill it full of ice and throw in, cans and bottles and those little Sutter Home wine cooler things and all those things. So I run across a lot of them. But when I do have a bartender, I will say, hey, my name's Kevin. I'd like to sort of go over what your setup is for the end of the night. I did have one last year where they just said, we do not want you to make a last call. And it's like, oh, okay, well, I guess that's fine. I think the reason was it was a open bar, and if they can cut off and not have people know to rush them, they get that much more alcohol that they can serve at the next event, so they make more money. Mm-hmm. So I sort of had to get in their head and figure out why they were doing that because I was curious. It didn't make any sense to me. But I always try to keep track of where I have the speakers, and if I'm a little concerned, I'll put it up to a level and I say, is that okay for you guys? And they go, yeah, it's fine. So I do that. I also check with the staff there for the caterers and that if it's on site or if it's brought in from an outside agent, and touch base with them, go them over the timeline if they don't know yet. So I just like to touch base with everybody who's important. Also photographers and videographers, if for some reason they don't know the timeline. But I try to touch base with everybody.
Yeah. Well, thanks, Kevin. I guess that leaves the raconteur of the group here, Mr. Jay Brannon.
What's up, everybody? A lot of great thoughts tonight. I think I'm the only one in the room, but I might not be. I spent about 15 years bartending. managing clubs, bars, restaurants, waiting tables, bar backing. So I always have a different perspective. And something nobody really brought up, which I think is, especially at weddings, more than clubs, I think is really important. As long as you're not drinking, and I think in this room none of us are, and I highly recommend that if you're DJing any private event, you don't drink, because if there is an accident or anything and you have alcohol in your breath, your insurance won't cover you. If there's police involved, you'll go down too. Yeah. That said, I've always made it a policy to make friends with the bartenders early and just let them know casually that I used to bartend and tell them straight up, I will come to you if I see someone that's wasted that you don't know about. Maybe somebody's at a table, they've been getting drinks all night, but they haven't gone to the bar, because I don't need them bumping into my speakers or me or my gear, and the staff doesn't need the liability. And I find usually 10 out of 10 times the bar staff is thrilled to know that a pair of sober eyes are on watching the crowd. Exactly. And that's if you have staff. I think it's essential to always work well with everybody. I've had a really good run this year with, man, you're the best DJ we've seen in 6 months or a year. I'll just be completely honest. None of it's paid off for anything. I haven't gotten the call back. But when I was doing a local casino, one of the tricks I would do is I would go in with a piece of paper and I would write down all the bartenders' names, waitresses' names, waiters' names, and I would occasionally call them out by name. Hey, guys, you know, everybody, we got drink specials. Go check Christy on the right side bar. Check Kevin on the left side bar. And I found that really did go pretty far because it made it more personal. And when I was a bartender, I loved it when people knew who I was instead of, hey, chief, hey, buddy, hey, this, hey, that. So I think anytime you can personalize it, like everyone has pretty much said, I think it's essential. You know, I agree with what Brian said earlier about rotating the floor. You know, I don't think about it much at a wedding because A, I don't have the time, but B, I also I'm making a small ascent up in the BPM ladder so people will kind of gravitate to what they like. But in a club environment or a bar, it's essential that you throw your floors, because otherwise you're not going to get hired back because the bar's not going to sell anything. And you can see in new DJs when they have a packed dance floor in a bar and it stays packed for like 20 minutes, you just know this guy's never coming back and he's probably never worked here before, because it's just, you have to rotate. But yeah, I think it's always a good idea. I mean, I know a lot of people do things pre-event and play a lot of music. I used to be that DJ that's like, hey, I'm here 2 hours early and I'm going to play some cool banging songs for everyone. And I had a couple banquet captains, like they weren't mad at me, but the staff wasn't maybe as motivated. So I kind of backed off that because I found it was more of a distraction, if anything else. But yeah, I mean, we're all in this together for the event. You know, the way you work with your photog, the way you go get your videographer and photographer who are in another room, getting a massage and having something to eat and being fed grapes and tell them when the toast is, you know, that's essential. You know, I mean, I know when the toast is because I'm actually in the reception room the whole night. Call it crazy.
Right.
Yeah, it's going to be part of my book. That, and thanks for putting your beat up carry-on luggage next to my new setup, but I digress. But yeah, I think anytime servers are involved or alcohol, you really got to keep your eyes open. I mean, one 200-pound drunk falling on your table. Hope you don't have a gig tomorrow because you may not have gear. So I'm hypersensitive coming from my past and the industries I worked in, that I watch people like a hawk. And I agree with the last call. A lot of places don't do it out here because they don't want that run at the bar. And a lot of times that decision is made that night. It's, hey, the event ends at 10, 11, whatever. Usually 45 minutes before is last call because they want to stop serving about 25 to 30 minutes before. Yeah. You know?
And that makes sense. To finish up for the,
Well, and it's a catch-22. And oftentimes, and when I was a manager, this was certainly my approach. The drunker the crowd, the less likely I gave last call. If the crowd's hammered, you're not getting a last call. We're just closed.
You know, we do last call, or we've done last call when it's starting to look scarce in there. There's not a lot of people left. If it's a full house, maybe we don't do that. But if it's like, okay, it's time to go. There's 20 people here. Let's give them a last call, one more cocktail, and get out of here.
Right.
Well, and you got to serve the event. I had the police show up a couple weeks ago, and their comment to me was, "We are here because we got a call that there was a loud party." I'm like, "Yes, there is, but we're not going to do anything about it because it's only 9:45.
Yeah.
Right.
And we can't even tell you to quiet down until 10."
Right.
So I explained to the venue after the event was over, I said, "My advice is we end music from now on at 9:30 and give them a half an hour to get it together, to grab their stuff and depart." Because the problem is this, as I'm sure you all know, I might be done at 10 of 10. These people are raising hell in the parking lot, beeping, screaming, laughing.
Mm-hmm.
If the police come in, I'm still getting dragged in, but I didn't have any gear up. It doesn't matter. You DJ'd this party. My name goes on the same list of the complaint. I don't want that. So, there's a lot of little things we got to be conscious of. But I think Brian and everyone else said, work as a team. Watch out for each other.
I got a point that I just wanted to spit shine because everybody said really good things.
Sure.
The thing that I think that we need to remember as DJs
So we're better than everyone.
We are totally better than everyone. But that's not what I was going to say.
Oh.
What I was going to say is, and I mentioned it, but I don't think I punctuated it enough. And I think it's important to remember there are a lot of things that we do, like Buddy talked about and Eric talked about and Jay talked about, where the bartender is completely aware of what you're doing when it comes to playing a song they like or just catering to them, knowing if there's a last call or not, letting them know if there's a problem with someone who's being overserved they may not be aware of. They know you're doing this. They know you're doing things like if you're working in a bar or a club for a long time, I know that Jason, the bartender, really likes EDM. I know that Anna, the bartender, really likes what John and Jay call dark wave or industrial music. And I'll throw something in for them once in a while. Hey, a little nugget for you. They appreciate that. They know if a DJ plays the same set every single night and they can predict what's coming next. And they dread when you're coming in because they're hearing the same crap they've been hearing for the last 3.5 years out of you. Is it effective? Yes.
100%.
Are they ready to kill you? Absolutely.
Yeah. They are bored.
I think it's also incredibly important to remember that the things that I mentioned, like rotating that dance floor, they have no idea what you're doing. They're not aware it's happening, but they know they're making money. So you almost have to, like I said, kind of cleverly bring it up. Hey, do you make more money when I work? Absolutely. I have no idea why, but I do. There are things they know you do and things they don't know you do. You got to do both of those things. But be aware that they're not going to understand everything you do. Just like most of us, excluding Jay, aren't really understanding everything they're doing either.
Right.
Well, you can say to them, you could go in early. You start at 9. You could be in there at 8:30 and be like, "Oh, you guys are going to be stoked tonight because I'm going to do my first dance floor clear around 9:30, depending how things go, with this new 9 Inch Nails mix. I want to see. I think it's going to clear out and give you guys some business, and then I'll bring them back with this next track or this and that." And suddenly they understand the mechanics of what we're doing.
I don't think they need to understand the mechanics of what we're doing.
But I think there are
Personally,
times that
I think it needs to look like wizardry and magic.
Well, and that can be true.
That's what I think. Because otherwise they can go to the next DJ. Hey, you know what Jay does? He rotates the floor.
Yeah, that's valid.
Yeah,
well, regardless, whatever you do, just realize the 21-year-old college sophomore with Daddy's BMW, the new promoter, when he comes in and his roommate Jimmy, the $100 a night DJ, is with him, you're out of a job anyway. So just ride it out as best you can until that crashes down around you, because it will.
Bartenders.
Now, what I was going to say about Brian's comment is, a magician never reveals how the trick is done, because then too many people will know in that area, and you wind up with a $100 kid in there.
But don't
obviously
you think
we're broadcasting this on DJ and TV, so
right.
I want
so
you
millions
to know
of people will now know this.
I want you to know this, but I'm quite confident that Anna the bartender is not watching this.
Right.
I'm quite confident, and
I
also
found out
confident
Bella, the waitress,
that nobody else who brings
bad waitress,
nobody else they bring into DJ even wants to comprehend this, because they want to do what they do all night because they're self-indulgent. But that's another video. No, that's not a problem. That's good for me.
No. That's good for you.
It's good for me.
And it just blows my mind because it's a running joke in our business about the opener trying to steal the thunder of the headliner. And it's like, there are great openers who tour with headliners because the headliner knows that the opener is not going to step all over him. We've all gone to see a DJ at a nightclub and the opener is playing like Sandstorm as their fourth track. And you're thinking, what are you doing? Like, that's not your job. Your job is to like ease us into this moment, not,
It's another video.
Yeah, that is another video.
That's true.
Absolutely.
Be a good opener.
All right. Well, thank you all so much. Eric, thank you for the topic. Hope we expanded enough on that. And as always, folks, if you like what you hear here or you have a question, leave it in the comments and we'll be sure to address it. Until then, we will see you next week. Goodbye.